Hi, and welcome to the presentation entitled How to Implement and Deploy a High School Drone Program and Lesson Learned. My name is Dr. David Barbour, and I'm an education consultant with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the Office of Career and Technical Education. One may ask, why drones in the high school? The FAA produces an annual report on aviation that includes drone industry forecasts for the next 20 years. In its latest version for 2024, they estimate that there is currently about 368,000 remote pilots, with a forecasted demand of over 472,000 by 2028. This is a 1.3 times fold increase and over 103,000 new pilots. This demand is even higher if one considers that many of the current certified Part 107 pilots obtained their certification for personal reasons with no true intent of being a professional pilot. The drone market has been mainly military in the past, but is now beginning to be dominated by commercial applications. This leads to an ever-increasing demand for even more pilots. The commercial drone market is around $10 billion in 2023 and is expected to grow to over $50 billion by 2030. 80% of the drone industry revenues come from services, which is driving the demand for pilots, as we have already noted in the previous slides. North Carolina's approach to implementing a high school drone program comes from a trade and industrial education perspective, which is simply, how can I get my students jobs right out of high school? The items that we will address in this presentation on how to implement a high school drone program will include knowing the law, understanding how your location can impact your program, creating a drone use policy for your school, the different types of drone insurance and why it's important, the requirements for teaching drones, what type of equipment is needed to include any software application, the curriculum that may be used, and finally, one of the most important needs of the program, an industry advisory board. The first area we want to look at is we got to know and understand the law. Drones are regulated nationally by the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA. This is a fact that causes problems when implementing a high school drone program. Anyone flying a drone for money must be an FAA certified drone pilot and must obey all applicable rules as required. They can't just take a drone out into airspace and fly. The rules for FAA drone certification is 14 CFR Part 107A, Unmanned Aircraft Systems, but you'll see it referred to simply as Part 107 certifications. Several years ago, Congress even passed a law creating a new certification that required anyone who flies a drone in airspace to be FAA certified to do so. Now, this certification they created is much different from the professional pilot certification and was designed for recreational pilots. Matter of fact, it's called the Trust Certification, which stands for the Recreational UAS Safety Test. This test is free, it's online, and really, you can't fail it by any serious taker. They'll pass the test. States also regulated drone use. This is typically enforced by their state Department of Transportation. State elected officials pass laws and regulations in addition to the national requirements to restrict and govern the use of drones. Here are some of the laws of North Carolina concerning drones. They include areas of restriction on using image captured by the drone without the permission of another person, attaching weapons to a drone, using drones to hunt or fish, interfering with manned flights, requiring permission from landowners before launch or recovery from their property, and restrictions flying over prisons. Now, each state would have their own restrictions, laws, regulations, and the operator would need to be aware of them in advance of any drone use. So you need to review your state laws along with the federal laws prior to starting your drone high school program. Many local communities also have added regulation for drone use. Their local law enforcement typically enforce these. but they're not laws. They're really only ordinances, and the violations really resulting in fines or fees. Now, here's an example of the drone policy of my hometown of Smithfield, North Carolina. Now, note that this only applies to recreational flyers, and that's because professional pilots fall under federal laws and not under these laws. To guide your program, each overall program should have an operations manual. Now, in North Carolina, we have one operations manual for all of our programs. So when we add a new program, they have an operations manual already. Now, this document should contain your mission statement, your definition, your organization structure, roles, responsibilities. And finally, you should also include your operational processes to include training requirements, flight operations. If you like a copy of the North Carolina SUAS Operation Manual, you can email me, david.barbour@dpi.nc.gov, and request it. The next three areas we want to look at are location, the drone use policy, and insurance. Let's first look at location. The school location you plan on flying must be in a place where you can legally fly. To assist recreational flyers, the FAA created a program they call Before You Fly. This app provides situational awareness to recreational flyers and other drone operators. The FAA approved 4 companies to provide this service through either a desktop or a mobile application. North Carolina partners with Aloft, who also serves on our advisory board. Their app is called Air Aware and was created in a partnership with the Pilot Institute. This app is available on the Apple Store or Google Play. Part of that app is LAANC, LAANC, which stands for Low Altitude Authorization and Notification Capabilities. LAANC provides drone pilots with access to controlled airspace at or below 400 feet. It also provides awareness where pilots can and cannot fly. It provides temporary flight restrictions, or what we call TFRs, information. It provides any updates to special use airspace, scheduling, when something particular is going to happen in that particular area at that particular time. And it also provides air traffic professionals with visibility into where and when drones will operate. The last topic we want to address as far as location is remote ID and FRIA. There's a new requirement as of September 16, 2023 that requires any drone that is bigger than 0.55 pounds must have a remote ID installed in that unit, or they must attach a remote ID module to the unit. If this is the case that they don't have it, then the drone is restricted to fly only in a FRIA. Now, remote ID will provide details about the drone's location. It also gives the location of the pilot that's flying the drone, and also informs people who the owner of that drone is. FRIA, FRIA, stands for FAA Recognized Identification Area. This is a defined geographic area where drones can be flown without remote ID equipment. Schools, community flying clubs, they can submit an application to the FAA to have an approved FRIA. Now, this needs to be done for drones that do not have the capability of having a remote ID, allowing them to still be flown in restricted areas. Schools should be applying for a FRIA because they would probably have some drones along the way, if not now, that won't meet those minimum requirements of remote ID. The next area that needs to be addressed is your drone use policy. Now, every school should have a drone use policy. Most already do. Insurance companies normally require you to have this before they issue any type of drone insurance. The drone use policy should include definitions, the allowable use of drones on school system property by community members, the allowable use of drones by representatives of the school system and students, guidelines for all drone operators, guidelines for drone operators who are employees of the school board of education, and what constitutes inappropriate use, and finally, violations and what their consequences would be. Next, you must have drone insurance. There are actually 3 types of drone insurance, but we're only going to really focus on 2 of them, liability insurance and hull insurance. Now, many schools already have a rider on their policy addressing drone use, which would still need to be reviewed and updated if needed. Drone liability insurance is a must to cover the expense of any accidental damage associated with drone use. Policies must cover personal injury and property damage. Personal injury may include bodily injury, disability, even death resulting from a drone crash. Property damage should cover any damage to utility lines, roofs, cars, and other personal property damaged by a drone. The minimum amount should be at least $1 million policy. The second area of insurance is drone hull insurance. This optional insurance and covers the cost of repairs to the drone if any damage occurs. Hull insurance can be costly, and since all drones eventually crash, the cost of hull insurance is typically expected to cover accidental damage during the aircraft operation. That results in the cost of hull insurance would have to be high enough to anticipate the replacement of the drone being used. Now, some policies have replacement cost and others only have repair cost. We do not currently recommend hull insurance for the drones that we're purchasing. It's almost as cheap just to replace them if we can't repair them. To teach drones in your high school, you have to have qualified teachers. Depending on what you're teaching in your school, your teacher must meet legal requirements beyond what your school system teacher requirements are. If a teacher is simply using drones inside the classroom and they only teach STEM and not for certification, then it's recommended but not required that the teacher also have their trust certification. If the teacher uses drones inside and outside to teach STEM but not for certification, the FFA trust certification is required by law. It's recommended that the teacher also obtain their FAA Part 107 for liability and insurance purposes. If a teacher is using a drone inside and outside to teach certification Part 107, the FAA trust certification is required, and the FAA Part 107 is highly recommended. Now in North Carolina, it's a requirement. See, we believe to teach one, you must be one. Finally, teachers teaching an advanced drone course that includes industry-certified flight standards, autonomous flight, and mapping, teachers must be certified in the FAA Trust and the FAA Part 107, along with any additional industry certifications being taught. In North Carolina, we have NFPA 2400 that demonstrates to employers the student's ability to do manual flight. We also have Ezra Drone to Map certification to demonstrate to employers the student has the ability to do autonomous flight, mapping, and ArcGIS application creation. And finally, ALOF and Drone Deploy certifications to demonstrate to the employer that the student's competencies and those drone industry standards. And again, as we said, North Carolina believes to teach one, you gotta be one. So therefore, the teachers would need to have any of the upper level certifications in which they're trying to teach the students. There's a good variety of drone training providers who can assist your teachers in earning their certification. All of these on this list here are very good and would be well worth any investment that you might have for your teachers. I would also recommend you check with your local community college. Many of them hold FAA Part 107 certification training classes as part of their continuing education program. The cost is normally less than a for-profit provider, but also provides several days to complete in person. Now let's look at equipment, beginning with drones. There are many different drones available, so understanding your drone's minimum features that are required to provide the capabilities and skills that you desire to be taught in the course is critical. Features that are a must include the following: battery times of 25 minutes or more. Extra batteries, of course, are going to be needed. These have GPS. It has a return to home feature, a minimum of a 1080p camera, 2-axis gimbal if not using mapping, and 3-axis gimbal if mapping and if you're trying to get better photos and videos. You need a micro SD card to store your data, and you need a dedicated remote controller. Now, this allows longer distance from the drone. It also provides the feel for the pilot to get used to working with the sticks. Before you purchase your drone, you need to verify that it is on the supported drone list for any third-party software application you may be using. We'll cover this a little more in detail later on. As you look to purchase drones, you need to be aware of the restrictions on purchasing drones from certain companies when using federal dollars. The U.S. Congress has passed a law prohibiting drone purchases from prohibited companies. If a company manufacturer is listed on Section 889 blacklist, such as DJI Technology, which is one of the world's largest drone manufacturers, and they have been specifically mentioned in Section 889, then schools cannot use federal funds to purchase these drones. Now, you may be able to use state or local dollars to purchase drones from these companies. But note, some states, schools are also prohibited from purchasing drones from that list, regardless of the funding. So be sure to verify your state and local restrictions before pursuing your drone purchases. That being said, the problem arises in the fact that there are little to no replacement drones for DJI. Price and performance are far superior for DJI drones over any competitors. This is not really in debate by any professionals in the field of drones. They would all tell you the same thing. That being said, we highly recommend you purchase DJI drones if at all possible. Now, here are some of the DJI drones that we recommend for our program. The most versatile drone and the biggest bang for your money, in our opinion, is the Mavic Air 2S. With pricing under $1,500 with a Fly More kit, this drone has remote ID enabled with 31 minutes of flight time on one battery. The Fly More kit includes extra batteries, propeller blades, a multi-charger, a soft bag, and the DJI Smart Controller. This drone is a little large for indoor flights, but for outdoor, it is the ticket. The DJI Smart Controller allows students to fly drones without needing a phone directly. It can connect to any cell phone remotely, eliminating the need to have one attached, allowing students without phones to use the drone. Their packaging right now, these DJI Smart Controllers that we're selling for $750 by themselves, with this Mavic Air 2S package for less than $1,500. The next drone we want to look at is the DJI Mini 3 with pricing under $1,200 with their Fly More kit. This also has the DJI RC controller. The drone has the remote ID enabled with 38 minutes of flight time on one battery. Like I said, the Fly More kit includes extra batteries, propeller blades, multi-charger, soft carry bag, and the RC controller. This is a small drone which is suitable for indoor and outdoor flights. The Mini 2 is a nice drone that can also be used indoor and outdoor, but it has no remote ID, and therefore if you're flying it outside of a free area, you would be required to have a remote ID module. The price with the Fly More kit combo kit is less than $400. This drone has 31 minutes of flight time on one battery. And the Fly More kit includes extra batteries, propeller blades, multi-charger, soft bag, standard controller which would require the use of a cell phone to operate properly. But this drone is definitely suitable for either indoor and restricted outdoor flight. The last DJI drone we want to discuss is in its end-of-life cycle. The Tello EDU is no longer manufactured, and that's due to a conflict between Taiwan, which makes the chipset, and China, which makes the drone. Now, these drones are still available, but you'd have to look, and you couldn't order them from DJI, but they are available. Amazon has them and many others. The cost of this drone is around $130. It includes extra batteries and blade protectors. The drone is strictly an indoor drone for starters. Now, it can be programmed using block code programming. With a short battery lifetime, though, you would need to buy extra batteries. One disadvantage of the Tello, it does not come with its own controller. It actually has you use an app on your phone. And that's not what we're doing as we're teaching pilots. We want them to learn how to use the sticks. So in that case, what we do is we found that there's actually a GameSir T1D remote controller, which is priced under $50, that will work with the Tello. And that's our recommendation, that you buy this along with the Tellos. Okay, as we stated before, there currently is not any good replacements for the DJI drone. But since some of you will not be able to buy DJI drones, let's look at some choices and some suggestions for those who cannot purchase DJI drones. The only drone on the market that will meet North Carolina's drone equipment requirement for our upper level courses that include autonomous flight mapping is the Anzu Raptor, with the pricing beginning at $5,000. Now, if you want thermal, and why not get thermal at those prices, it would be $7,500. Now, the reason for the increase in price range is that without DJI consumer drones, you have to go to the commercial drone, and they're much higher prices. This drone does have a 45-minute flight time on one battery, but additional batteries would also be needed to purchase. This drone is only intended for outside flight. For inside drones to replace the Tello, there are several choices that could be capable for your needs. This is the Echo drone, which is offered by Pisco. It's under $200, and you'll remember that the Tello is under $180 when you add on the controller. It does have a shorter flight time than the Tello of 10 minutes. Another option being pursued for the inside drone to replace the Tello is the Co-Drone EDU drone offered by RoboLink. It's under $250, but includes a lot of extras and has a flight time of 27 minutes. Lots of applications have been developed for this drone, making it very versatile for a first-level drone course. So those are really the only recommendations I can make for non-DJI drones. Now, there's lots of what I would consider toy drones out there that have all kinds of different features, and many of these toy drones are themselves coming from China, but may not be on the restricted list. The question really is, can they meet your requirements? Now, since we defined what our requirements for drones are, then we can use that list to qualify these other many cheap drones that are out there in the market. Now, our thoughts in North Carolina have been, we want to teach our students to use real industry drones and not toys or off-market brands. But again, that's a strategy that each state must make, and we've made our own choice. Other equipment you'll need includes a high yellow vest. Now, this serves several purposes. One, it identifies you and your students as doing something that should make others aware for safety purposes. And number two, it gives the students a sense of being part of a team. It's recommended that you purchase at least one yellow vest with FAA registered drone pilot for the teacher. Now, you may want to purchase one each of these for a student in their upper level class. So if you have 5 students that are certified drone pilots, you would want to have 5 yellow vests so they're all flying with it's saying FAA registered drone pilot. Now, you also need to have plane vests, though, for students that are involved in the drone operation that are not certified pilots. In addition to a safety vest, you also need caution cones to identify the area that the drone is operating in so you can restrict access. And we know safety is very important, so the use of hard hats and safety glasses should also be used. Other equipment you also need is NIST standards. Now, NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. This is a U.S. government agency that promotes innovation and industrial competitiveness by advancing measurement science, standards, and technology. That's a lot to say, but basically they create testing standards. In the last few years, drones have made a tremendous impact on the fire industry. Governments have funded millions of dollars to purchase drones for firefighters across the country. The problem that arose was that the FAA Part 107 is not about flying skills, but regulations and safety. So therefore, you could be a certified 107 pilot and have never flown a drone. So to ensure that these newly certified 107 pilots had the skills to operate these expensive drones before they turned them loose, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, sought the assistance of NIST to develop a method to test the skills of those pilots before they turn them loose on these very expensive drones. This effort resulted in the development and the release of the NFPA 2400 Standard for Small Unmanned Aircraft System, or SUAS, for use for public safety operations. NFPA 2400 test methods are a practical way to guide training and measure remote pilot proficiency. NFPA 2400 includes a suite of 10 aerial test methods developed by NIST that quantitatively measures both the system capabilities of the drone and the proficiency of the pilot in carrying out 5 basic maneuvers, including accurate landing, vertical climbing, and straight and level flying. There are also 5 functionality test methods, including circular orbits to identify objects from afar and spiral maneuvers to conduct close-range inspections. These standards can use 5-gallon, 2-gallon, or quart-sized buckets. Now, the 2-gallon buckets seem to work the best, but still take more time and storage than the highly mobile 1-quart buckets. Lapson sells the NIST standards in the 1-quart bucket sets that include the bucket, the stands, the disc, the tape measure, the stopwatch, laminated testing scorecards. These are connected using magnets for quick and easy assembly and disassembly. You can also make your own NIST standards. If you like a set of blueprints, please contact david.barbour@dpi.nc.gov and request them. In addition, you will also need a basic toolkit for repairs and maintenance. Now, this kit should include screwdrivers, standard Phillips and hex, micro screwdriver kit, a low-cost multimeter, epoxy glue, a low-cost soldering iron, and a mag light for detailed repairs. The next area we need to cover is curriculum. You may remember we need to focus on the end in mind, since our focus is on creating new drone pilots. That being the case, our curriculum should lead to that as well. We should have a complete program to provide the industry with a product pilot that they can use quickly with little to no additional training. Our curriculum must enable our students to legally be able to fly, to demonstrate their flight skills, to provide evidence they can complete autonomous flight and create maps, and finally, they can utilize appropriate standard industry applications. In North Carolina, we've developed 3 courses to accomplish our objective, which, remember, begin with the end in mind. In our Level 1 course, we target 9th and 10th graders to prepare them to enter into our certification course, which is the second level, by providing an understanding of the basic parts of 107 terminology. We use the TeleEDU drone types for flight, basic block code programming. Finally, students will earn their trust certification, enabling them to fly recreationally. In our second level course, we focus on the FAA Part 107. Students will test for the certification at the end of the course. We will also begin flight training using the NIST standards. Note, all students will be trust certified before they can fly outside, enabling them to fly without the instructor being beside them. If they're not trust certified, the instructor would be limited to one student flying at a time. We do not develop curriculum for this course. There are many others that have great materials. Now, you can find some of this materials from Drone Part 107 certification training companies. There's drone STEM educational companies. And there's even free online resources available on YouTube, FAA's website, and many other sites. Here's a list of some curriculum material partners that we would highly recommend. Cross-Flight Sky Solution, ICEV, USI, AOPA, and PISCO. Our final drone course targets students who have already earned their FAA Part 107 and are eager to develop these skills and knowledge to become employed directly out of high school or soon afterwards. In this course, we teach drone entrepreneurship. We demonstrate flight skills as evidenced by obtaining their LAPSN NFPA 24 certification. We do simulation. We do mapping and autonomous flight as evidenced by obtaining the LAPSN ESRA Drone to Map certification. The next area we want to look at is software applications. As with any other industry, knowledge and skills in using software applications are important to be seen as a professional in that field. Now, there's three areas we want to address: fleet management, simulators, and autonomous flight and mapping. As certified FAA pilots, we're required by law to conduct and maintain certain activities and documents. We must create mission plans. We need to log our flights. We need to log our approved LANC authorization, our checklist, our risk assessments, our maintenance logs, any incident reports. This process that we're going to use should be documented in your operation manual that we discussed earlier. We must keep track of our assets such as aircrafts, batteries, payloads, any activities associated with each one of those. Remember, you're an FAA certified pilot, and as such, you're subject to legal requirements when operating with those privileges. Not doing so, if the FAA was to check your documentation, could result in loss of Part 107 license. It could result in monetary fines, and in extreme case, you could go to jail. To aid us in North Carolina, we developed a partnership with the leader in industry, drone fleet management, Aloft. They were selected by the FAA twice to redo their Before You Fly app, and over 80% of all LANC approvals go through their system today. If interested in getting more information from Aloft, please contact Kevin Teen at kevin@aloft.ai. Simulators are also important tools for drone pilots. Simulation counts towards a pilot's flight time. It's a safe way to train new students. It allows students to fly more hours and provides certified pilots the ability to practice and hone their skills. There are basically three types of simulators. There's computer-based simulation, which are usually internet-based software applications. There are standalone simulators that you just purchase and usually come with their own controller that you buy in the kit. And then there's drone manufacturers have simulators, like DJI has their own simulator, and you would use one of their drone controllers connected to your computer. The next area of software we want to look at is in the area of autonomous flight. The key feature of a commercial drone applications is their ability to map using autonomous flight. This is where the pilot creates an autonomous mission that, when executed after the pilot hits their launch button on their drone, independently conducts the flight, captures the image along its pre-programmed route, and stores the image data to be used in the creation of maps or 2D, 3D images. There are a variety of autonomous flight applications, and they include Drone Deploy, Drone Link, and 3D capture. Now, North Carolina partners with Drone Deploy to do all of our autonomous flight applications for all of our schools. Drone Deploy is seen as a leader in this field, which benefits our students when they seek employment. Remember to verify your drone on the mapping and autonomous flight applications approved drone list to ensure they are compatible for use. If your drone is not listed, it will not be able to be recognized by your third-party application. Autonomous flight is required for most mapping applications. It is possible to do a mapping using manual flight, but it's much more difficult and there are some inconsistencies that could result. There are a variety of drone mapping applications. Some of them are free and some of them are fee-based. We use Esra's ArcGIS Drone to Map to take the data captured during the drone mapping mission and then convert it into 2D images as defined and then upload that to ArcGIS and create web applications that can be shared with anyone. Esra provides free access to many of their professional GIS applications as part of their K-12 education program. Drone to Map 2D is one of those applications. Since Esra Drone to Map does not provide us with the ability to create 3D images, we use our Drone Deploy application to complete that task. The last area we want to look at on how to implement and deploy a high school drone program is that, as with any good career technical education program, you need an advisory board. Now, this advisory board should be made up of potential employers or stakeholders in your area. The key is choosing partners that can contribute in different ways, not multiple members from the same field. Educational partners such as community colleges, universities, and if applicable, technical training schools should also be included. You need to create a charter to define your work, to include desired results, to provide clear guidance and expectation to its members, and to provide a method of reporting. Advisory board members' commitment should be renewed each year. The North Carolina High School Drone Advisory Committee meets via WebEx every other month during the school year starting in September. They assist with strategic direction and guidance on curriculum and skills being taught. Meetings are all recorded and are available for review on our YouTube channel, Drone Pilots for NC. That's DRONEPILOTS Here is a list of most of our industry partners on our advisory board. As you can see, they include Aloft, Drone Deploy, North Carolina DOT, CTE, North Carolina Public Instruction, Zipline, Kazi Aviation Unmanned, Goodwill, Elon University, Blue Ridge Mountain Drones, Duke Energy, UPS, EC, North Elizabeth State University, NC State University, and UNC Wilmington, not to mention Elon University also. As a result of our partnership through our advisory board, we've developed several program opportunities for our students. We have a pre-apprenticeship program with Kazi Aviation, where our certified Part 107 students work for them while delivering products via drone to customers in the Hope County area of North Carolina while they're going to high school and getting paid. Once these students finish high school, they go on to the community college and work on a degree in aviation while continuing to work for Kazi Aviation and still being paid. We have another program with the world leader in medical supplies, Zipline, which is a drone company. North Carolina high schools are one of only 3 pilot pipeline programs that Zipline has. They have one at the university level with Embry-Riddle University in Daytona Beach, Florida. They have one at the professional development level, training level with Unmanned Safety Institute. Then they have ours at North Carolina high school drone programs for high school students. Students can be part of this program by completing all of our program certifications and maintaining a certain grade point average. Students who complete the application and meet that requirement will be given a job interview with Zipline. We also have several programs with universities that offer summer grants to our drone students, where they will attend fully paid camps in the summer while have opportunities to get additional certifications. We're also working with others from our advisory board for additional student opportunities. With all that's going into a program, you might ask, how many programs do we have? Well, this map shows the different counties in NC that have a current high school drone program, and as you can see, they're spread throughout the entire state. This slide shows the continuing growth of our drone program over the last 5 years. As you can see, it still continues to grow at about a 19 to 20% growth overall year after year. The real question is, does this program work? Well, this slide shows the continuous growth of our drone program certifications from last year to this year. So, we've reached the end of our presentation. I'd like to leave you with a simple truth. This is how you implement and deploy a high school drone program. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Here's my contact information. And until next time, happy flying.